Sweat Equity podcast and streaming show. Pragmatic entrepreneurial advice with dick jokes. I'm your host, Lost Smith. Sitting to my right, your left on the tube is Eric Redinger.
Get it.
Let's get a little value add up front. We want to give you a little value added prop right up front. You need a geo-targeting by building website. You want to do some ads to a building only?
I do, actually.
Go to gimbal.com. They're not a sponsor. That's gimbal.com for geofencing ads by building. That's how we should add value right up top. If you want to help out the show, you can subscribe, rate, review. We're on Apple iTunes podcast app. We're on Spotify. You're dancing.
Stay focused.
I can't because you're
dancing.
We're
adding value.
Your dancing is very white.
Really good.
Just doing the arms only.
Shoulders only.
That's the mom dance. That's the 50-year-old mom dance. We're on YouTube, Facebook, Vimeo. Hit us up with any questions, and we'll probably answer them on air. This episode is brought to you by ExpressVPN. Try expressvpn.com/sweat. Get you 3 months free off anonymized web browsing. Don't go incognito on Chrome. You still get tracked. Try expressvpn.com/sweat. Get you 3 months free off an annual plan. Get that anonymized browser history. I don't have to call Eric when I die because all that stuff is already washed away.
ExpressVPN does it for you.
Our next sponsor is trygrasshopper.com/sweat. Grasshopper business phone lines. Gets you $75 off an annual plan. You need that side hustle. You're doing that Etsy store. You're selling, you're upcycling some stuff on Etsy, Pinterest, whatever you got for your side hustle. You need a business phone line. Trygrasshopper.com/sweat. Gets you $75 off an annual plan. You need a real business phone line. Stop sending stuff to your mobile phone, your direct personal line. That's crazy talk.
Crazy.
People can reverse Google your number and then they got your
Find out where you live. Next thing you know, they're in your driveway.
You go on fastpeoplesearch.com. There's another value add for you.
Yeah. Plus the dancing.
So try grasshopper.com/sweat. Gets you $75 off an annual plan. Scalable business phone lines. You can add lines to it. You can text. I text from my desktop.
It's not obvious. I really like the new intro music. If it's not obvious.
Digging it. And lastly, Warby Parker, warbyparkertrial.com/sweat. Like Keith Sweat, gets you 5 free pairs to try on at home. Fit your horse head. You got a big oval head. You got a frying pan face. Well, you get 5 pairs to try on at home.
We should do different animal heads next time. We'll come up with different ones.
Bear heads, otter heads,
walrus heads,
dolphin heads, whatever you are. warbyparkertrial.com/sweat. It's got you the hookup. Holler if you hear me. 5 free pairs to try on at home. You put in your prescription online. Voila. Not only are we promoters, but we're members. That's warbyparkertrial.com/sweat. 5 free pairs to try on at home. Are we ready to get this started with our friend Bryant Dunivan?
Ooh, okay.
Power.
What about my sweat equity?
Howdy Johnny.
Sweat equity. Sweat equity. My sweat equity. My sweat equity. What about my sweat equity?
Bryant Dunivan, why don't you throw some plugs right up top for your firm and tell the people what you do. And we just try to get that out of the way at the top because, I could do pre-pro.
Glad you just said his name.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Bryant, and it kind of annoys me when people call you Brian. I get annoyed for you because I know you're too nice to say anything.
Such an old man.
I know. I answer to everything. Brian. Hey, you. It's all work.
You're like Antonio Bryant of attorneys. Yeah, I'm making that connection.
He's back in the league now, right?
Is he?
No, he's not.
No way.
I thought he was getting looked at because someone got hurt.
Possibly.
You're thinking of Antonio Brown, probably.
Yeah.
He said Antonio Bryant.
Yeah, no, that's not. No, Antonio Bryant.
He was
retired.
like, he's been out for years.
Antonio Bryant's like the opposite personality of you, honestly. He's like fucking.
Surprised you know his personality, Antonio
He's
Bryant's
wild,
personality.
dude. You don't know him?
No.
Former wide receiver for those listening. He played on like 8 teams. He's crazy.
Pitt, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And Bryant is a Chicago guy, and I'm still pissed about the Bucks losing. We're coming off that horrible loss where Brady got Alzheimer's. And Alzheimer's?
That's going to happen.
Yeah. It's going to happen when your offensive line doesn't block Khalil Mack and a bunch of guys. But
yeah,
that's for another podcast. Why don't you hit everybody with your plugs for you and your law firm?
Yeah, my law firm's Owen and Dunivan. We're here in South Tampa. I do a lot of real estate defense work as well as consumer protection, so pretty much dirt and debt. You can look us up online at owendonovan.com or just give us a call, 813-502-6768.
Yeah, give us a phone number. Most people
Old
don't do that.
school,
I like it.
yeah.
No, and you're for the state of Florida, all your service for the state of Florida. We have people that listen outside of the area, but I just try to make that pretty clear.
All our Kazakhstan listeners, don't bother.
We're big in Kazakhstan.
Surprisingly.
Hey, whatever. If it's bot listeners, it's bot listeners, whatever. Our numbers are going up, and I like it.
Exactly.
So I was telling Eric before he got on, you're kind of my go-to productivity guy. As far as you're owner operator of a small law firm. You guys have been doing really well since I've known you, probably the last 4 or 5 years. And it's really cool to see that incremental. I mean, this show's really about the small minutia and kind of continuous improvement stuff. I thought I was good on the productivity apps and integrations and all those things. But I go to you for a lot of I need some ideas on how to do this. Like you have an AI assistant, right?
Yeah. I use X.AI. It's basically a virtual assistant.
So if you make a meeting with them, it looks like a lady's emailing you back.
Oh, really? What was it, Bryant?
X.AI.
It's X.AI, yeah. It's pretty awesome.
So just the letter X.AI.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, you get Amy or Andrew or whatever. So, if you prefer a gender as an assistant, you can. Doesn't really matter which one you use. But it takes the scheduling out of your hands. It bugs the hell out of people, pretty much.
Is there a lot of setup involved with it, or is it just kind of set up for your industry, or how's it work?
It's not set up for any industry. It goes off like your Google Calendar, or I think it integrates now with Outlook too. So you're able to kind of give it constraints. Hey, I want to schedule this meeting in the morning. You use a special word or whatever for whatever meeting you're trying to do, and it'll just schedule based on your availability. It'll take your calendar and when you want it set.
Yeah. As soon as I have stuff to do, I'm doing that.
As soon as I need that, yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's that thing of hey, might as well look into it now. If you're listening, or you, Eric, or myself, we're setting ourselves up to a lot of work starting to. I can feel kind of coming in as Florida reopens. A lot of people are getting kind of fatigue over COVID right now, which doesn't really make a lot of sense. It's just people are like, "Fuck it."
Yeah.
But
I'm with them.
Business is starting to open back up. I feel like all over the country, I get that general feeling just reading what I'm reading and listening to podcasts and stuff. And if anything, the time to set it up is when you are kind of slow.
Yeah. And we're always going into meetings and wanting to show people stuff that they probably don't know about. It's another one in the old breadbasket. It's like we were talking about going somewhere where it's like, let's just get in the room so we can go through and, say you could use this, and this. And it's just like people don't want to do it that way. But there's so much stuff out there, AI stuff, that you can use.
The interesting one about this, why it's better than Calendly and Acuity, is that it looks like a human's really doing the emailing.
So the responses are
hence why they have names like a guy.
Yeah, it's pretty intuitive. It'll respond if you say something kind of off the wall. It may respond to it, or sometimes it gets lost, but it'll ask you as the scheduler, what do you want to do with this kind of thing? How should I respond?
I might need to send a goofy email over there, test that thing out.
It's pretty sweet. I bring it up at the top of the show because I think it's one of those little things. If you spent an hour getting used to using it, it probably would save a lot of people time. If you're kind of in that professional services business where, man, you can waste a lot of fucking time just coordinating meetings. And for lawyers when you're running your own, you have five people in house as employees?
Yeah, we've got a staff of 5 with 2 attorneys, so we're pretty busy, staying busy.
You're getting them at their best dollar per hour because you're taking that off of someone's plate, right? It's like your best dollar per hour. This is how I always think about if you manage anybody. How can I get them at their best dollar per hour? Okay, well, if this app kind of cost benefit, if I learn this app and the cost benefit of that is this person can spend more time going over contracts as a paralegal instead of setting up meetings, then I'm getting way better value.
Yeah. Well, we should ask what the cost is, if any, on the X.AI.
Yeah, I think I use a free plan still.
Really?
I mean, you get a certain number of scheduled meetings, and I don't think I'm there with it because I do it for a lot of my intake. That's how I've automated. Like when people fill out my contact form on the website, it'll automatically reply with that address kind of triggered to it. And once I started doing that, I started noticing more conversions on leads and all that kind of good nerdy stats. But yeah, I think because I'm using it in such a select environment, I'm not really having to pay for it.
Yeah. Here's the other thing you kind of you got me conditioned on, and when I did this as a habit, I was much more efficient as well. Is tell us how you go through your emails in the day. Because look, email is that thing of like, it's not sexy to talk about. Everybody has to deal with it. I just spent my Friday night and I zeroed out all my emails and I go, cool. I just did that in one big glut while watching the finals or something. And I was like, I'm just going to start zeroing out again. But you've got a way of doing your emails, which I've heard other people that are super productive do. And I'll let you kind of explain it.
Yeah, I'll hit it for maybe a half hour when I get in, like 9 to 9:30. I'll knock out some emails. Maybe right before lunch, right after lunch, I'll do another chunk of them. And then after that, end of the day, I'll try to clear out or formulate kind of my list for the next day, what I need to get done.
Because
I have to delete it. I have to get out of the window or else it just kind of takes over the day.
Right. If you're that guy that's obsessed with checking emails on your phone all day, it doesn't clear your brain enough to be the attorney a lot of the time, right? Mm-hmm. To be the specialist that you need to be, right?
Yeah.
So he basically goes, breakfast, lunch, dinner on it.
I thought it was going to be much more complicated.
It's not,
or elaborate.
Well, no, a lot of answers are simple. Execution and habits are kind of the difficult part, right?
Sure.
And so, I found that to be when I really stuck to it, because
it's like having a dirty house. You have a bunch of stuff around. It's like it makes things worse. Like it's a little bit. You're not as productive when your house is like first thing clean up, and then your mind's clear too. Yeah.
It's kind of you're cleaning your inbox. It's kind of the same thing.
Oh,
in a way.
Yeah.
I mean, you figure
a good metaphor would be like a dirty house.
Well, the thing that's tough to the thing that's kind of tough to deal with when you're running your own business is you're always trying to bring business in on if you're any kind of professional services. So you're always kind of like, I need to be, I always need to be, client facing, and I need to be or customer facing if maybe your e-commerce store or something like that, or, you always need to be hitting them back within X amount of time. And you find out that two things. A, people don't need the response as quickly as you do it. Sometimes it can make you look too eager. Like we talked about in the last podcast, where in dating, there's a fine line between persistence and stalking.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't dating. We were talking about me trying to get a job.
Well, that too. I mean, going to get a job, if you're too eager in that and there's a fine line between being dutiful and being stalker again. Yeah. And I think it's the same thing with sometimes getting right back to people. You're kind of coaching them up. This the second part is you kind of coach them up to how that relationship's going to work.
Yeah, you don't want them expecting you to answer back in 30 seconds every time, because then when you actually are busy, whoa, what's the deal here? I'm going to find somebody else who can do it that way.
Right. If they get too used to that instant response, then you're stuck in an emergency situation. They're like, hey, you didn't answer in 15 minutes. What's going on?
Right.
I've lost all faith, and that's not a reasonable expectation for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a weird one. I had to learn over time that because I'd be really good a couple of days in a row, and then a lot of days I'd be like, I can't check email today because I have to just focus on work, and that's just a bad way to kind of go about everything. Really blocking out time to actually get the work you need to get done.
Yeah. Well, now that you've got it cleared out, now it's about diligence, daily, just doing what Bryant does.
I'm on a 5-day streak.
Good.
Still zeroed out.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, and if you're trying to avoid like on your phone, just use. I use an iPhone. It's got like these screen time settings. It like makes the email app disappear if you're trying to get out of that lifestyle.
Wait, what's
I
that
did not
now?
know that.
Wait, what's this now?
Did not know that.
Yeah, it's something. It's like screen time or something.
Sure, I know the screen time
What it
app,
is.
but you can make apps
Yeah,
disappear.
basically, for some reason my email just goes away. I don't know if it's like a parental control thing I did. I used to listen to a podcast called Cortex, and that was one of their life hacks. If you
Okay.
spend too much time in an app, it just disappears from your phone until the next day.
So that was something you did? You put in the settings for Gmail
Yeah,
or
I
whatever?
put it on just for my work.
Okay.
Yeah, just for my work email. And at that point, the app disappears. I can't check it, so I can't kind of obsess about what's going on about the day.
Oh, interesting. I didn't
Yeah.
know they could do that.
Yeah, and I mean, look, I find myself happier sometimes when you don't have all those dings hitting you up all the time. Use Slack as well for your intra communication, right? For your office.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you have that set up. That's interesting. I didn't know you could do that. See, this is why you came on the show, dropping knowledge. What any other like whatever you want to call them hacks that you use every day?
Well, I used to track every minute of my business day. Like if you're trying to get productivity and trying to figure out what you need, you got to do it. I mean, I tracked almost religiously for probably a year just what I was doing and found 30-40% of my time was administrative crap that I couldn't make money on. Once I started narrowing down what that was, I started delegating it out to people who, could handle that for me. So I'm focused more on the billing.
Again, one of those
Or
things,
new client retention, that kind of thing, something that makes money versus costs money.
yeah, one of those things that really smart. Everybody kind of knows they need to track their time and where it's being spent. Even if you're working in, corporate position, middle management or whatever, you should be kind of tracking your time every day.
It's hard to do for a lot of people. If you're not used to the sort of self-awareness that's necessary, it's hard to be honest with what you're doing.
But even
You'll
just
find people
that's why I
tracking their
use an
time,
app.
and it's like, I was doing, it's like, hey, this is for you.
But to
This
build
ain't for
up-
anybody but you.
to build off the podcast we had yesterday, it's hard to do, but that can be defeatist talk.
No, I know.
like-
for sure.
The way to do it is just start by blocking out hey, what did you do for that an hour?
Right, yeah.
And just start there, and then I'm sure you start.
Or maybe instead of every minute of every day, you do every 4 hours.
Yeah,
I got 6 blocks of 4 hours. What are those going to look like? That sort of thing. Start there and then break it down more if you want.
Yeah, I think I've told you about the Timely app. It's a like a Swedish or Norwegian company. Basically, it'll track all the screens you have. So if you're like me, where you're running from one thing to the other, like I'm spinning plates. I start one plate, I'm gonna go to the next plate. I'm gonna spin that one. I'll go to the third plate, spin that one, and I'll come back to the first one. That's a lot of my day is kind of juggling between those, and I rarely take time to go back while I'm doing it. Go spend 5 minutes on this, spend 5 minutes on this. That's something I got to work on. But the Timely app, what it'll do is you can go back and it'll go, here's what your desktop screen or your phone was on. You can also do a geo tracking. Hey, you were physically here. So you have a low jack on yourself.
It does snapshots of your screen also, right? Periodic snapshots?
There's tools like that. It might be able to
Or is
do
it not
it.
Timely that does that?
I don't know if Timely does that, but it'll be like you were in your email app for X amount of time. So you can go, okay, I definitely just sat there that whole time doing emails, and you can go back and kind of retroactively do it for those that don't do it every minute.
Yeah, that's a little crazy.
Yeah. Well, it helps that my day is, I bill in 0.1. I think of a day in 0.1. So that was easier for me. I think it was whatever you call them in Chrome, the extensions. It gives you a little button to click on things.
Mm-hmm.
That made it a lot easier.
Okay.
Those apps that, track your screen and what you're doing. If you see ESPN 24 minutes in the last hour, you probably got a little sidetracked. That's how mine look.
Yeah, and the one that pops up on your phone, by default every week, and it tells you how big of a shithead you are.
Right.
It's like your
The same screen time app being a dick.
You're down 4 hours from your usual 12 on your phone. You're
Right.
like, whoa, what? And I realized, like, oh, I'm not actually on my phone. I'm like listening to a podcast. It'll count that or something.
Yeah.
So I don't.
Or the kids
Yeah.
take it.
I don't like
Exactly.
you guys let your kids take a phone. I don't trust that. I've made a rule.
Kids
in the
are
house.
younger too.
Yeah, I know, but I'm trying to. His kids are about my kids' age, so it's kind of like I try to put it now. I'm trying to put in their brain they don't ever take dad's phone.
Don't
But
ever.
it's
get
a good
daddy's
rule to
picture.
have. But here's a dad life hack for you guys. If you download the Shortcuts app on an iPhone,
Yeah.
anytime they open up their games, it automatically goes to guided access. You could set it up. They can't get to your pictures, can't call people. Keep it safe from clients.
Nice. That's a good one.
Oh, I've got the Face ID thing. They can't even open it.
Yeah, mine somehow get in. I don't know how
Yeah.
to figure it out.
Maybe they look too much like you, and it just automatically.
Something.
They've got printouts of your face that they're just holding up in the front of it. They're smart.
Yeah, they go to
Kids
my
are smart.
photo.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of work-life balance stuff you've told me about too. I mean, look, running your own business, a lot of people don't realize like you really got to hone in that work-life balance stuff, or you're gonna like I've definitely been there. I burn out. I used to burn out all the time, like every month or two, just trying to do too much and not taking that time. Like that's good to hear that you assessed where you spent your time, and then like literally looked at it and went, okay, I need to attack this problem. And that I think not to where you told me your upbringing is the Mormon upbringing, and I think that's where you get the due diligence of all of that. Yeah, nah, I don't know.
Yeah, a little bit. It's all regimented. You know, if there's rules for everything, you tend to become rule oriented. So this kind of productivity stuff's easier.
We can
you know,
cut
it's
out
just-
any of that religion stuff if you want. If you don't want it out there, I don't know. Is it? Did I?
You're good. I'm not anymore. I mean,
You've been outed.
Yeah, yeah. I think finding that balance too. So you have to find that work balance, and then you got to find a work-life balance as well. And I feel like you've done that in spades to the point where when we're talking about stuff, I'm like, God, I got to get my shit together. But I mean, like you've got.
well, the life part was hard for me, man, because if you're running a business, small firm, you can really just focus on it all the time. And if you're not recharging, you're not serving people right. You know, you've got to take some time for you. That was the hard part for me.
So tell
So I
us.
just started scheduling weekends out. You know, it's just on the calendar. I'm out. You know, leave a day early or whatever.
Yeah, tell us about that a little bit more. Like, what is that like? I mean, you guys can spend your nights poring over cases and whatnot. Yours aren't. I assume because it's real estate, it's not as like
Time intensive.
Yeah. It's not super urgent as maybe some other kind of practice fields or practice areas. But I could be wrong. You tell me. I mean,
Yeah, no, my stuff tends to be, you know, calendared out. I'm calendaring things out February, March of next year already. So
Woo!
I've got a good 6-8 month lead time on things where I'm able to navigate my calendar that way.
Jesus Christ. Yeah,
That's
that's
crazy.
Well, that's what I mean. That's what I tell people with marketing. We can get this 6 months ahead of time if I have my druthers, but it's one of those things where it's a little tough.
I almost don't want to know what I'm going to be doing then.
It's not going to be that though. That's the thing, right? I'll do that too. I don't want my whole life fucking scheduled out.
Yeah.
You know, but it's just a plan.
It's a nice framework.
right. It's a
a
plan,
guide.
You know.
Yeah, it's a guideline, not necessarily hard and fast rules. Unless it's, you know, a 3-week jury trial, then I'm going in February. Like that's on the calendar. It's going to go. But depositions, flights, that kind of stuff can tend to change. Especially now, no one knows what the hell is going to be going on in 6 months.
So are you guys all Zoom conferences still? Are you getting back in the courthouse? Or you have to ever go
I haven't
into
been
courthouse?
back in the courthouse. Yeah, no, we're Zoom pretty much. Some telephonic things. We're not in person yet, but it's supposed to come soon. We'll see.
So going back to kind of the exhausted kind of work-life balance, tell us about that. You're kind of in the midst of that, and I know you've got a creative outlet as well, playing music, like I've got for stand-up. You know, we've got for comedy over here, and I think you were telling me you found like that you weren't doing anything musically, and it was like it had an overall effect on you. right?
Oh yeah, no. If I wasn't playing music, or lately it's been running, if I'm not getting out and doing something for me, it's just you're drained across the board on everything. So I had to like carve out time. Like for the music stuff, I'm trying to record something new a month. Just a silly rule, just focus on it a little bit. Just one, it's not too much. Anyone can do it. Or get out for 3 miles a day, do a quick run. It takes 30, 40 minutes back to the house or back to whatever you were doing.
Oh yeah,
That's how I'm trying to do it, to break it all out.
We're fitness accountability buddies because I can see his on the watch app, on the activity app, and then I have to send one of those. We have to send one of those pre-automated, like the automated replies that are corny. So every time.
I don't know. I ignore your shit.
Oh yeah, but I like sending those every time I see those pop up. It just goes like.
I literally have never got any of them.
Really?
No.
Oh no.
I think I silenced you.
That's fine.
I think I did.
You get a lot of you'd see my schedule be a lot of randomness. Like it'll be like I'll do a lot, throughout the day kind of thing.
Like 3 a.m. yoga. It's like, where's this coming from?
Yeah.
That's when I'm like, I can't sleep. I might as well do something I hate.
Yeah.
It'll make me go to sleep, hopefully.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm trying to get more to your kind of scheduling life out a bit, knowing that it's definitely not going to be that way. Because the romantic side of you goes, man, I don't want to be like, I don't want to put a governor on myself kind of thing, but it really is the opposite. It really affords you the freedom to go do all the things that you get pissed that you're not doing later.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Brian, do you what's your taking work home scenario? Are you ever doing that, or you kind of say I'm done when I leave the office?
Yeah, for big things, I'll bring them home, like trials. It seems like I'm always preparing for those at home. But for the most part, once I leave the office, I try to leave everything behind now. Again, didn't used to, but ever since I started, it's been a lot better. COVID made it a little more difficult, though, when I was quarantining, not in the office. It was, it seemed like work just surrounded me with everything.
Yeah,
so
blended
that
together.
made me more aware of it. Yeah, I couldn't keep track of weeks, man.
Tell me about it, yeah.
Yeah, every day would kind of blend in. It was like being a sophomore in college when you're like
well, what's funny
fucked up and you're just like, what is today?
So
is
he had coronavirus and
I got the cooties.
You and I didn't realize like the fogginess aspect of it until you brought it up like 3 weeks later and you're like, I actually feel good now. I'm like, oh yeah, you were like all weird for like 3 weeks. Like just totally flighty and not paying. Like I had no idea. I just thought you were being lazy.
I thought I was too. That's what messed me up because I thought it was just like it's like come on, get it together kind of thing. That I'm like kind of coaching myself up. I'm like, what's fucking wrong with me? And then I was listening to my friend Andrew Santino's podcast, Whiskey Ginger, and he talks about. I mean, this kind of confirmed it really because he's like, I've been foggy for like the last like 4 weeks having this, and I was like. Oh, he's a very similar kind of guy to me. Where like he goes for anger jogs as well. So I don't know if Bryant does that as much. I feel like you're a pretty mild mannered guy, but we all got some kind of.
I don't know if I've ever seen an angry Mormon. If I'm being honest,
he's not a Mormon. He's
just running down the street, man.
Okay.
Yeah.
But nice. Bryant's nice though.
Angry ex-Mormon, I guess.
Yeah. You're out of the church, but I'm saying
okay. Well, still. Raised, I'm assuming, there's some good parts to it.
But everybody's got a little, like, men that are working, I assume there's some kind of anger or rage inside. You got to figure out how to kind of quell a bit. And, I
got a punching bag.
I mean, fuck yeah.
That's not a metaphor, literally.
We've talked about it on this podcast. I think a big issue, and look, this is not going to be PC at all, but a big issue I think with a lot of women in their 30s and 40s right now is they have a lot of rage and they don't have any physical thing to do to take it out on something. I find the women I know that have that balance where they go, I do kickboxing, I do jujitsu, I do stuff like that. I go on a walk for an hour. I find those gal pals of mine, they are way more balanced and
sure. It doesn't have to be just women.
Anybody who's not, and women are
anybody without that outlet.
Anybody who's not pushing themselves, it just it sits inside you. It's just like this little thing, and it builds up and builds, and it's like until you get it out, it's going to be in there. And it's going to affect your life,
Yeah, but
whether you want to tell us it does or not.
I run the opinion that women are actually angrier than men, just in general. That's
Okay. Well, you just hate women.
I don't. I love women. I'm just saying, like, this is what I see. This is like being the retarded Jason Bourne. I can't not observe stuff when I'm out in public, and so like this is the general feeling I get. This is what I'll talk about on stage. Like, yeah, I'm generalizing and being kind of just open ended about it, but I feel that pressure. It's a feelings based thing. Like you can't. It's a pattern that I'm recognizing, but it's not same thing. All right, I have the bit about.
Here we go.
Oh shit! Better get the
my
prices
sound
right.
effects.
Yeah, just
Do
about
bits.
Being angry. Just being angry in the car, and you have to see the person's face
Right.
when you're pissed off in
Yeah.
traffic. Arguably, way more dangerous
Yes.
to go drive up and see their face. Right.
Just give them that. Ugh.
That's a feeling. I do it. That's a feeling I feel everybody else does. I did it on stage, and it was like one of those things where like people will go yes, like I fucking have that. So I'm saying like I just feel like I don't think this was such a thing back in the day. I feel like the softer we get as a society, we're inside, we're in air conditioning all day. Social media bugs everybody out. It's that Social Dilemma documentary on Netflix is basically it tells you what it's doing to arouse like all these feelings of just like FOMO and you're not good enough, and really like if you're making more than what is it? You make more than $30,000 a year, you're like in the top 1% of the world or something crazy like that.
Right.
Like being poor now isn't nearly as bad as it used to be, 50 years ago when you're worried about like paying for food and stuff as much. Food's cheap now. Like there's a lot of things where we don't look at it analytically. We get these feelings from other entities, and I feel like it hits women more because they're better on the feeling side.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I just like this. The times now, you're probably right, do affect women more. But in general, anybody who's like, I just think guys have more outlets now that are normal, to work out or whatever, to punch a bag. Like for women, it's kind of abnormal to go to kickboxing. Like they all feel like,
Or go for a walk, go jazzercise,
you know what I'm saying? Like,
Prancercise, whatever, man.
Mine sprints, man. I make myself do sprints. It sucks.
Good.
But, whenever I'm pissed off, you just
yeah,
sprint.
dude, on off.
I'm not to your level yet, Loft, but
What you
mine'll
didn't
be short sprints.
you didn't buy a set of cones and take your kids out and run drills like I did.
We got cones.
I got
Not there yet, man.
my daughter likes setting up the cones, and I put them in a square, and I do the sprints like I did in football practice.
T-drill?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll just do I'll do a bunch of those.
Her lateral speed is getting really good.
Yeah, I mean, look,
quick.
I'm Bruce Bowen out in the defensive basketball court there.
Oh, nice. Cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, you know why he's Bruce
San
Bowen?
Antonio Spurs defense.
No one likes Bruce Bowen.
Right. He plays good defense.
When we play pickup ball, all my friends are like, "Man, don't cover me," because I'm like, I suck at offense, so I got to do whatever I can.
Yeah, you're a football guy who plays basketball.
Yeah, I got that lateral movement. But talk to me about. Oh, I almost forgot. Or we have to ask everybody this question: if you could give yourself advice at 13 years old, like there's you can travel back in time and you can go talk to your 13-year-old self. What advice would you give yourself?
Don't be so serious, man.
Yeah.
Don't just go on that. Like I went straight from college to law school and followed that whole plan. It's okay to live a little,
Perfect. I love
Take the sixth year. Why not?
That's what I tell my kids. You're going to go through life, and people are going to convince you that, things are so serious. Like, I'm like, no. Nobody has it figured out. Nobody knows what they're doing. Like, it's not as intense as it seems, no matter what people will try and convince you of.
Well, if you don't mind me asking.
Yeah, don't focus on growing up, man. Just enjoy the time
It's
you're
going to
in.
happen.
Yeah, you're at where you're supposed to be kind of thing, that whole Dr. Seuss kind of rhetoric of you'll grow at your own pace, whatever that is, but don't try to force it,
Is that from a Dr. Seuss book? The places you'll go?
Yeah, it's like wherever you are, that's where you'll be kind of theory. And if you try to force it too much one way, it can if you're like, I need to go be the party person in high school or whatever, you can force that, and that's not who you really are.
Right.
It's really hard to figure out who you are, when you're younger. But look, I feel like I just really kind of got to understand a lot about myself the last couple of years, like how I actually work by working on a lot of that mental stuff. If you don't mind me asking, do you think being so serious was part of that upbringing? Like, I'm just assuming, because all the Mormon friends or ex-Mormon friends they've had that kind of like very structured lifestyle, very closed off from any kind of extreme kind of. There's not a lot of. How about this? There's not a lot of ex-Mormon probably like dirt bike guys. There's not, like there's
or it
not.
could go the other
no.
way. I mean,
I think
in the X Games.
I think like Utah's like it's a lot of that too. I hear the comedy clubs are awesome because it's a lot of people that are like not either ex-Mormon or like they're just like not part of that, so they go way the other way from the environment they're around. But
gotcha.
you tell me, do you think your upbringing had a lot to do with you just maybe being so serious to the point where you had to kind of catch yourself?
No, well, maybe some of that. It's hard to say. I grew up in the Midwest, so that's kind of a lot of that Midwestern work ethic just kind of shines through. If you're not working on something, what are you doing? Especially, I grew up in a farm town, so everyone seemed to be, okay, it's after school, what are you going to do? We're going to go work in a field, or we're going to cut up lumber and bring it to this pile. It was a very regimented kind of way of life. So maybe some of it religion, some of it not. It's just kind of surroundings,
I forgot about your rural upbringing. That definitely has probably a lot more to do with it. Because look, I got home from school. It was like you're playing a sport every day.
Right.
That's what my family implemented that, and I think that's good for me. But like going to chop wood, I'd be like, get the fuck out of here. What are you talking about?
yeah. Do you have to mow the yard?
Yeah, no, it was either
No.
playing in the woods or helping your friend move a whole wood pile. It kind of went those different ways.
I'd go in the swamp near my friend Ben Schmid's house. There's a swamp across the street, and then we'd try to find the random playboys that were just hanging out there.
Nice. What'd you get?
Homeless
Anything good?
guys. Oh yeah, there's always some weird. Everybody's had that experience too. I find that there about our age or older, you always came across something in the woods or a swamp or like
Movie idea: the porn fairy that leaves magical packages for prepubescent.
But that's a weird
pubescent
shared
children.
experience that I've heard from like everybody across the country. Like, did you find anything out in the woods where you were? Any homeless guys?
Any
that-
good
But
wood
it's
stuff?
just craziness. It was. We were going into the woods looking for like rattlesnakes and stuff, like stupid things that could have got us killed. Like, you shouldn't do that kind of thing, but we thought we were young and invincible. So why not?
Yeah. I don't imagine. I always imagine you're from Chicago, but not like Chicago land, which is like it's sprawling. I've been out in like Palatine and like taking the trains out to those like random.
Humble brag.
Yeah, real humble brag. Yeah, doing the zanies out in St. Charles or whatever.
Yeah, no, I was right around St. Charles. I was in a small town called Elburn.
Well,
Like they printed T-shirts when they got a stoplight. That's how small it was.
oh my God.
Do they remember Law?
Oh yeah, that's small.
Yeah, my headshot's in the zanies in Old Town. Ooh, yeah.
Do they remember his car driving bit?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that one has probably been stolen a bunch by now, but yeah. We're going to close this out. Anything you want to talk about before we close this guy out?
No, man. If people are interested in kind of learning more about productivity and how I do it, look at the Cortex podcast. Everyone should check it out. It's interesting.
I'm going to get you to teach a course, I think, to other lawyers. I think that's the next level on how to run the show. That's where you make that.
Hey, one day.
That's where you make that passive income on the e-learning stuff.
Yeah, we get you a little green screen in that office, get you set up nice, get it
Yeah.
going.
Hey, I'm for it.
Yeah, man. All right. Well, thanks for coming on, buddy. And we'll get you in.
Thanks for having me.
We'll get you in person next time. I know we've been trying to get you on, and our schedule is just kind of wonky, but
Yeah. Next
well,
time.
I think we'll start getting more people in person coming.
Yeah.
All right, brother.
Appreciate it.
All right,
man.
man. Thanks, guys.
See you,
Thank
bud.
you.